How's it going, everybody? I hope all is well with you. I just got back from a small trip to Thailand where I played in a football tournament, and during that tournament I've managed to completely rupture my MCL. So for the next 5 months I'm going to be in recovery, just trying not to really move my leg or move around so much. So apologies for the lack of uploads in the last week or so, but sometimes life throws things your way that you just have to deal with. And today we're going to be talking about feelings that we forget are normal to feel. And often when we feel these feelings, we make ourselves sad. But there's also the realization that it is completely normal to feel these feelings. So let's get into this list now. The first one we're going to talk about today is the losing connections with friends as we get older. Now this one actually really hits closely to me because I feel like it's something I'm going through or have been going through for the last few years. And in my life I've always been lucky to have a good friendship circle of 6 really close friends. And you know, in the last few years I feel like we've started to see each other less and we've started talking less as well. And it just reminds me that people are on their own journey and people are doing things at different times, and that's okay. So, you know, in my friendship circle, for example, I would say about 4 of these people are married and 4 of them have kids at different ages. And, you know, there's a couple of us, me included, that, you know, kind of just doing our own thing. And you know, it leads to people seeing each other less and talking less. And over time, you know, our social settings have changed, right? You know, from when we used to go out on a Friday night drinking with the boys and having a good time, you know, now they're kind of having lunches with, you know, the other friends and their kids as well. And, you know, it's just a bit of a weird situation because, you know, everything's changed and it's just not how it used to be. So you kind of feel like you've lost that connection that you've had with someone. And I think it's quite common in our 20s and 30s that, you know, most people will experience this. You know, you have a group of friends that, you know, you have the closest relationship ever, and you do everything together in your late teens and your early 20s, and then, you know, over time people's priorities change and they don't have the time to do the things that you guys used to do anymore. And, you know, that's okay. And, you know, it's completely normal to feel sad about these things, and you know, it's something that I'm currently dealing with myself. Second feeling today is about the sadness of time passing quickly. And I often can get like sentimental about things like this. I kind of find myself sat at home thinking, oh my god, time has passed so quickly. And as I've gotten older, it kind of just has happened that way, and it does feel that way, that time just passes super fast. And you know, it just feels like the days blend into weeks and the weeks blend into months and the months blend into years, and everything feels like a blur. And you know, I remember sat back in high school thinking how time used to move super slowly and you couldn't wait for the semester to be finished and the holidays to begin. But you know, these days it's normal to feel sad and it's normal to feel like time is passing us quickly, and that's because it is. And we just try to have to live in the present and not think about how fast it's flying, because it is flying and it's going to continue to fly. So let's just live in the moment every day. The next feeling is about our parents getting older. And, you know, this is something that I'm starting to experience myself. And, you know, in the COVID time, I was in like quite a harsh lockdown for like a number of years, and I couldn't travel. I couldn't go back home. I couldn't go see my family for, I think it's around 3 years. And, you know, a lot of things changed in that time. You know, 3 years is a long time to go without seeing family members. And, you know, my parents have both retired and, you know, they're getting on quite a bit. And, you know, I notice it every time I go back home. You know, they're less likely to go out and do things, you know, because, you know, the bodies are less able than they used to. And, you know, as someone who lives the other side of the world, I often feel kind of guilty that I'm here because I feel like I should be back home, you know, taking care of my parents. But, you know, my mum's always been very insistent that I need to live my life on my terms and just enjoy my time. And luckily for me, I have 2 brothers that are really awesome, and, you know, they help with a lot of things that I can't do while I'm not around. So, you know, it's definitely something that's close to my heart. And, you know, it's really tough to see parents get old, but, you know, we have to remember that it's just a normal process in this life. Next, we're going to talk about being nostalgia about memories. And
They say nostalgia is like a drug. It's cool to think about once in a while, but too much and it's unhealthy. Sometimes I feel I struggle with nostalgia. I often sit and think about the old times. I think back to playing in my childhood or the good times I've had in my life. I even think of the good people I've had in my life and the ones that are no longer around. I think about the times I shared with people and I wonder what they're doing with their days. I feel like life pulls me one way while reality is pulling me another way. I feel stuck between visiting memories from the past or just accepting it and moving forward with life and the present. Sometimes we just have to accept that these days have ended and the days where we had no responsibilities and could go out and play with our friends till dark are gone. Every year we get older and we take on more responsibilities, whether it's careers, relationships, kids of our own, houses. The good old days are gone and we have to be thankful that we experienced them and we have to keep moving forward, no matter how hard it can be. Next, we're going to be talking about loneliness, and loneliness is often paired with someone who may be old or older people that lose people when their friends or other halves pass away. But nobody really seems to talk about loneliness in our 20s and 30s when we're trying to figure everything out. In every friendship circle, like I mentioned earlier, there'll be people that are doing things differently to other people. And, I, as a single person and someone who lives alone in their apartment, sometimes life can get lonely. And, I've always been good in my own company. But for sure, there are times that, I feel lonely and I feel like I'm missing out on things. But, it's important to remember that, we're all doing things on our own time scale and there's no right way of doing life. And, even those people in relationships or even those people who have good friendship circles can feel lonely at times, and sometimes we're just not fulfilled as we want to be. It's just a process and it's something that we need to work through all the time. Anyway guys, I have a few more things I want to talk about, and I'll probably try to squeeze them into a part 2 of this video that will depend on how well this video does. So if you guys are still here and watching, I appreciate you for being here and I appreciate you for watching. Please like the video, give me a comment on some things that you've been feeling recently, and yeah, peace out guys, I'll see you in the next one.